It's April 6th, 2020. I'm going to be doing Plastic Beach, which is the Gorillaz, or just Gorillaz' third album. It came out March 3rd, 2010. I'm just going to do credits and track listing time and then, get right into it. I don't really do factual stuff. I mean, maybe in the future I'll do something like that. This is kind of just pretty much gossip. I just listen to the album, then I do lyrics at the end. Just kind of asking the question, what I like in the first place, what techniques did they use. I even just on for personal information, I guess, or notes or whatever. I kind of have been starting to try to focus more on, the vocal patterns, song structure in general. So before I do that, I don't want to get too much into it, but I didn't even know about the whole origins of this album in general. I mean, it's available to read if you want to. But it's interesting. And then just one of the other things that I saw is Damon Albarn's. I mean, yes, it's a concept album, but just his thoughts on plastic in general. It was kind of just like, I didn't think that he'd think that, and also kind of interesting perspective to think or believe. It was like along the lines of like, plastic is a part of nature because it came from nature, and he noticed, Damon had noticed some animals kind of just like chilling in with the trash, kind of just using. I mean, some of them were just, it was being used, so it was just, it's just part of nature by this point. And once again, it came from nature, which once again is an interesting perspective. I mean, I'm all about hemp products and biodegradable shit. I mean, I'm not like fucking, I think that's the direction that would not only help it would help economically, that's what I was gonna get at, but it also would help just environmentally. It's just fucking spaced out for a second, but definitely help economically too, because especially for United States, I mean, all the jobs that we'd given away, in all for profit, because I mean, you just pay less money or less wage to a worker outside of the country, instead of in the country. And I mean, just a lot of those products then fucking weren't being made in the United States, so just a bunch of fucking jobs were lost at that time. I mean, just progressively as time went on. And hemp is legal now. I mean, this is off tangent, but anyway. I guess one other thing that I remember seeing is apparently Damon Albarn made about like 70 tracks. I'm sure like some of them were like pieces of tracks that were then changed into other tracks or whatever. I think that's what I even read. But I really hope it ends up getting released. I mean, there's a horrors track, or apparently they worked with Damon Albarn for a Gorillaz track, but there's only been like a little snippet online. I don't know if that's even available anymore. But I digress. I'm finally just gonna get to the track listing, the credits. One thing I just always kind of just assumed that the band would just kind of go, the lyric or all credits go to the band, but it's not usually the case. I forgot to say that sometimes. I'm just now getting into it. So, anyway, let's get fucking into it, man. Track 1 is Orchestral Intro, which is by the Gorillaz. And it goes at 109. Track 2 is Welcome to the World of the Plastic Beach, which has Snoop Dogg and Gorillaz as the writers, and it comes at 3:35. Third track is White Flag with Bashy and Kano. Gorillaz obviously are also the writers, or credited as writers or composers, and it comes at 3:42. Fourth track is Rhinestone Eyes, which is all credited to the Gorillaz at 3:19. Fifth track is Stylo, which has Mos Def and Bobby Womack, but it is credited with Gorillaz and Mos Def at 4:29. Sixth track is Super Fast Jellyfish, which has De La Soul and Gruff Reese. which is credited to Gorillaz, De La Soul, and Gruff Rhys, 254. Seventh track is Empire Ants with Yukimi Nagano of Little Dragons, which is credited to Gorillaz and Nagano at 443. Eighth track is Glitter Freeze with Marky Smith, which has Gorillaz and Smith, Marky Smith specifically, at 402. Ninth track is Some Kind of Nature with Lou Reed, which has Gorillaz and Lou Reed, credited at 259. 10th track is On Melancholy Hill, which is just all Gorillaz at 353. 11th is Broken, which is just all Gorillaz at 316. 12th is Sweepstakes with Mos Def, which is Gorillaz and Mos Def at 519. 13th track is Plastic Beach, which just has Gorillaz at 346. 14th track is To Binge with Yukimi Nagano of Gorillaz, which is credited to Gorillaz and Yukimi Nagano at 355. 15th track is Cloud of Unknowing, which is featuring Bobby Womack, which is just all Gorillaz at 305. And the 16th track is Pirate Jet, which just is all credited to Gorillaz at 232. Getting to the musicians, we got Gorillaz, which were, I mean, it is just Damon Albarn. I mean, you got Jamie Hewlett, but he did, art. I mean, he might have said something at some points, like, maybe gave suggestions, maybe, I don't know. You got Sinfonia Viva Orchestra, which they're featuring on tracks 1 and 15. Andre De Ryder is conducting orchestral arrangements at track 1 and 15. You got James Redwood, orchestral arrangements at track 1 and 15. Snoop Dogg, vocals, track 2. Gabriel Manuels Wallace, additional drums, tracks 2, 4, 6, 9, 12, 16. Hypnotic Brass Ensemble, additional brass, doing tracks 2 and 12. Yeah, Brashi for vocals, track 3. Kano, vocals, track 3. The Lebanese National Orchestra for Oriental Arabic Music, the orchestra, track 3. Assam Rafia, conducting orchestral arrangements, track 3. Mos Def, vocals, track 5 and 12. Bobby Womack, vocals, track 5 and 15. De La Soul, vocals, track 6. Gruff Rhys, vocals, additional guitar, track 6. Yukimi Nagano, vocals, tracks 7 and 14. Hakan Ryanstrand, additional keyboards, tracks 7 and 14. Frederick Whalen, additional keyboards at tracks 7 and 14. Which I will say just real quickly, this album introduced me to Little Dragon, and I mean, I fucking love Little Dragon, but I digress in that matter. I'll talk about later. I mean, I've already talked about the band, but anyway, in the past. Anyway, Simon Tong, additional guitars, track 7, 8, and 15. Marky Smith, vocals, track 8. Lou Reed, vocals, additional guitar, track 9. The Purple, The People, The Plastic Eating People, choir, tracks 9 and 16. Mick Jones, additional guitar, track 13. Paul Simonon, additional bass, tracks 13, or just track 13, excuse me. David Coulter, additional mouth harp, track 16, and then Steven Sedgwick, programming. I mean, there's clearly some more like technical stuff. So I've already talked about the first 2 albums in the past. Just I guess in long story short terms, I guess the first album seemed to be kind of this like free artistic creation under, obviously, trying to still be attracted by the general public, but just like, kind of incorporating about 4 different genres in one. You got like rock and roll, hip hop, electronic, and Latin vibes, and then that's about predominantly the first 2 albums, and then by this album it kind of changes more into a lot more hip hop based music, and kind of also, I mean, I also mentioned like the second album. I didn't in the past. Long story short, in that there seemed to be a little bit more commercialism kind of and production kind of. I mean, not that there wasn't production in the first album, but I mean like it didn't seem as creatively free as the first album. But I mean, I would say definitely Demon Days I like a lot more than the debut. But I mean, they're both really good albums in general. I mean, I already fucking, like I said, already, if you want to listen to that shit, I guess you need my opinion on that. I mean, I don't need to fucking tell you that they're good. This one, for sure, it just seemed like, I mean, once again, like, Gorillaz, I mean, even on the second album, like, they were kind of relatively, widely, I mean, I'd say widely known by that point, and, you know, especially by this point, I guess they're even, like, you know, I even read, you know, there's some musicians that didn't even fucking know the Gorillaz, they only fucking, you know, featured on it just because, well, I mean, Damon wanted them and seeked them out, but, you know, a daughter or a son would be like, yo, I really like this band, can you, would you, I mean, that would be the kind of like the only reason why they'd even do it. Otherwise, they probably would have said no. Well, not totally said. I mean, there's a chance they would have said yes, but I mean, just they didn't even know, which is not necessarily a bad thing necessarily. But the other thing is just like there were just so many people. Like I'm sure there were a lot of people in the the last couple of albums as well that didn't feature on the album in the end. But I mean, like you said, there was about 70 tracks on this fucking album. That could, well, not 70 tracks on this album, but 70 tracks that were created for this album. That ended up, you know, obviously, you know, you got only 16. But this is just like, you know, complete gossip. So I can't, like, you know what I mean? I don't know. This is kind of just, you know, fucking coming out of my ass here. But just like, but once again, like this third album, just like, I don't know, there just seemed to be a little bit more stress involved. And clearly, you know, you could see there's a little bit more strain and tension involved. Just in terms of like, you know, wanting to, you just still want to, I think the strain and tension was more of just like wanting to keep that, you know, the popularity of the Gorillaz up. You want to have another good album come out. You don't want it to be, you know, fucking flatline. You don't want it to fucking die. You don't want it to plateau. I mean, you see by the fourth album, there was a lot more tensions in private matters. I mean, like, I think Dan was trying to go for, I mean, based on some of the stuff I read, like, you know, I think he's trying to go for each musician in the Gorillaz in the fictional story. We're each going to have, like, I think their own solo project or something like that. But, I mean, I don't know if that's totally what he was trying to go for. I think that's what I read. I could be wrong. But, I mean, by the end of the day, Jamie Hewlett, and I mean, they also wanted to go for, there was a different story that was involved. I mean, there were some characters that you saw in, like, Plastic Beach that kind of just, like, showed up, but they didn't really make sense, I think. I mean, I don't remember. I don't know. Once again, I can't remember the whole details, I guess. I'd have to, like, actually go into the history of it. And once again, I'll get to that one day probably, because I'd like to know that information myself. I mean, it happens to a lot of bands. I mean, like, they just, I mean, I don't know. It's just maybe, like, when I grow up, I'll, like, you know, transition to figuring out, like, you know, kind of, like, accepting and seeing, like, because, I don't know, just for the most part, there's always, like, some bands that I can name off the top of my head that, like, they just got too commercial, and they just fell into their formula. They found their formula, and now they just kind of like shit out music based on that. I'll say definitely the music that they've made recently, the last couple of albums, like the Now seem to kind of be like trying to go back in time and grab that kind of what, you know, the debut and Demon Days kind of sounded like, sort of, but also kind of still sticking to, you know, whatever was kind of going on at the time, like 2018. Humans was, to me, just seemed more so kind of like sticking to kind of what they did for Plastic Beach as well, just like whatever was kind of popular at the time. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, even like Demon Days and the debut kind of still did that, like whatever was kind of popular at the time, kind of blending all of that together. I mean, I think it's just kind of, I mean, almost a wholesome act. I mean, you're just trying to bring the world together. I feel like that's what the whole thing is. I mean, maybe not literally. I mean, maybe just simply, you know, I like all these I mean, in terms for like, in what Damon might be thinking. It's just like, I like this genre, I like this genre, I like this genre, I like that genre, I'm gonna put them together. But I mean, especially the music that's coming out nowadays, I mean, they even have this like that song machine. So I mean, like, it's getting it's world music, and it kind of always has been world music. I mean, since the beginning. But it definitely kind of expanded, especially by this third album. I also didn't kind of realize this, but for The Fall, it was just a Brit in America, kind of just their perspective on kind of traveling around, like road trip style kind of America. I mean, maybe even probably took a plane, I'm sure, but I kind of never, because I grew up in America, so like I didn't really kind of it didn't really phase me as much. But The Fall I might do maybe one day, but I mean, that there's some albums I don't know, there's just a lot of tension. I don't know, for some reason you could just feel the tension. I mean, like, for example, like Sonic Youth, like what is it, the album Rather Ripped, it just kind of, I don't know, man, it just seemed like they were kind of like, private, and I don't know, I just felt like dirty laundry was kind of being expressed. And there's another band, I think Crystal Castles, like by the third album you can really feel a lot of tension in that band. But I'll get into that band later. On a personal note, I really like Pirates. Real quick context, an older brother showed me the band when I was younger. I mean, by the time the debut came out, I was fucking like 6 or 7, maybe 8 years old. And then by the time the second album came out, that was like 2005, I would say. So, I mean, once again, I was probably like 12 or 13. That was around the time that my brother kind of showed me them. So when 2010 kind of came around for the album, Plastic Beach, I'm pretty sure I was, pretty invested into the band by that point. And, was fucking definitely, I don't know, I guess listening to it when it kind of came out. I mean, I guess who gives a shit about this information? This is fucking gossip. Expect more of this shit. I always say I don't really give a shit about introduction songs or whatever. I mean, they sound nice a lot of times, and in this case, the orchestral intro is pretty nice. It's a nice little, like I said, introduction, quite literally, into the album. But we just got some violin, or at least strings, and piano, I want to say. I'm not exactly sure why they chopped up the songs in part 1, part 2. Probably, honestly, the only reason why I could think of it is just so when you're revealing it as a possible single, which I don't know if this was a single or not, but I don't know, just to, I guess more likely they're gonna listen to the entire song rather than listen to the, an extra minute. So I mean, the song would then kind of come to 4 minutes and fucking 40 something odd seconds, 45 seconds, something like that. So I don't know, maybe that's possibly it. Anyway, I mean, once again, for song structure wise, the first track, or the orchestral intro, does lead into Welcome to the World of the Plastic Beach, which is featuring Snoop Dogg. We got trumpets that kind of come in. We got some electronic, I guess, arpeggiator with drums, which kind of sound like a drum machine, or electric drums, at least. And a little bit of Snoop Dogg, of course. And possibly either electric or like synthesized bass, or bass in general. Then there's a organ kind of synthesizer, I'd say, that kind of comes in now. I'd best describe this track as kind of like, I mean, it's still kind of like an introduction song, but it kind of reminds me of like electronic and hip-hop being blended together with an orchestral atmosphere in the background. However, by this point in the song, they kind of, I mean, I would actually take back the whole orchestral atmosphere that kind of, that's kind of gone already in the first couple of minutes. It's kind of coming off as, another Gorillaz track. I mean, I don't know. Once again, just a lot of times, I know I'm just listening to these tracks. Like, I know I want to listen to them, but like, you just like reading a book. You can like just scan the page, or you can actually like fucking absorb the information, the details that were put into the fucking the medium. For vocals, you got Snoop Dogg rapping, and there's kind of like this vocoder, probably Damon Albarn. Not probably, it definitely is. In terms of song structure, it kind of builds up, and then it kind of just like, ends. Kind of like almost like leading up to this like gate or this door opening, kind of showing this world of the Plastic Beach, or at least, this part of the world. Some more synthesizers kind of come in and out, but once again, kind of a build up for the most part. Nothing kind of really changes up or anything. I'll definitely say though, this is a very experimental album, or I guess this is an experimental album, but it's very contemporary as well. But what I meant to say is this track specifically is pretty experimental, because for Snoop Dogg, I wouldn't say this is exactly even like, it kind of is like a hip-hop track, but like there's still like these elements of like electronic and even like almost like indie rock to it, which just kind of like, if you listen to like Humans, for example, there's definitely some more, or even maybe in the Now there's some examples of kind of like more experimentation. But anyway, it's a pretty good introduction, song for what it is. I do think that Snoop Dogg could have had like maybe a bigger part. He had a pretty good part for this track alone, but I don't know, I just feel like there could have been a little bit more for him. But once again, that's what I'm like, this is kind of what I'm talking about. Like, there's just so many people that you want to throw on this album, but like you only have so much space. Should have just made like a fucking 30-track album. White Flag starts off with the orchestra again. You got percussion, kind of like these Congo drums. You had some flutes, or at least woodwinds of some sort, and then it kind of switched off to strings. There's also string plucking as well. I'm not sure if it's also violin or another instrument. It's really starting to incorporate that world element. And then it kind of just completely changes up to like this like hip-hop electronic beat. Some synthesizers are coming in and out. The structure really hasn't changed too much so far since the, obviously the orchestral section. It was definitely a real big change up. But I would say it's definitely kind of like, British hip-hop during, 2010s or around that time. Once again, kind of just whatever was going on at that time was kind of being incorporated. It was just, definitely pick and choose for sure. I'd probably have to like listen to Humans again, but that was kind of remind me more of like the US kind of hip hop around that time, like 2017. A lot of fucking auto-tune. But, a lot of electronic music uses vocoders, so eventually stringed instruments and the kind of bongo or whatever percussion comes in later on in the song, kind of integrating, once again, that togetherness of, kind of two cultures. It does still kind of sound like an introduction song, though. Like, it's still kind of like, you had obviously the orchestral intro, you had the Snoop Dogg, Welcome to Plastic Beach, and then now you got this. It still kind of sounds introductory. The song structure is pretty straightforward. It doesn't really change up too much other than the very beginning. And then, like I said, at the very end, the beginning kind of like intertwines itself with the second half of the song, or I'd say like, I don't know if it's exactly the second half. I'd say it's like 2/3 of the song. Just for imagery, it just kind of reminds me of like just this room filled with computers, and like some like alarms are kind of going off. Even some of the alarms go away, but it really does kind of depict that scenery for, not only that album cover, but a lot of the artwork that is associated with this album. Rhinestone Eyes has this kind of like, I mean, I'd say, I guess it's lo-fi, I guess, but I mean, it seems more kind of minimal. I mean, once again, it kind of has this kind of well, I don't know if it's exactly arpeggiator synthesizer, but well, I think so, or kind of like that kind of programming, and then also kind of drum machines as well. And I'd say this is kind of the direction that they were going to go in for about, a couple of years, at least into the fall. It's kind of like electronic. There's, I'd say trip hop elements and like I would say indie rock even. The scenery definitely kind of depicts like this underwater submarine kind of trip or experience or adventure even. Going into like underwater caves and shit. Almost like a Yellow Submarine kind of mentality. I mean, maybe it's just me, but it definitely kind of reminds me of the song Yellow Submarine by the Beatles. And the music video, or at least the segments of what was going to come of the music video, kind of does show that one character that they wanted to use and just kind of show what was going to, I don't know, I guess happen for not on the music video, but I think they were even trying to make this into potentially a movie. I mean, once again, if you look into that kind of shit, the project was originally called Carousel, but I digress. It's cool also to see this kind of like storyboard kind of paneling, because like, if anyone wanted to potentially do this kind of music video kind of animation, they could kind of figure out what the fuck they did, figure out how it's done in general. This track is definitely a Gorillaz track, but like, I don't know. I mean, it definitely is different from Demon Days, and obviously, the debut. Not 6, but 5 years had passed. I guess like 4 or 5, because I guess it was kind of recorded around 2008, 2009, I think. But like that track, for example, kind of reminds me of a later track, Trans, for example. I mean, it's a good track, but I mean, I don't know, there's just something, I don't know, I guess more electronic rather than a rock and roll. I guess they kind of like departed that rock and roll element, kind of like, if it did, I mean, it's just kind of more or less like indie rock, sort of. Stylo's more or less kind of like electro funk, but with also kind of like hip hop element to it. And then there's moments where Damon Albarn will sing and kind of like add this like indie rock kind of influence to the song. The song, for the most part, the song structure doesn't really change up still. I guess there's like, there's definitely some moments where, synthesizers are coming in and out, but I mean, like the drum and the bass are pretty solid. I mean, they're really solid, they're really good, but I mean, it doesn't really it's just pretty straightforward. Bobby Womack adds that rhythm and blues, kind of soul genre to this track. I mean, once again, it's kind of like, just like blending of cultures, man. Blending of genres, but blending of cultures as well. I mean, it really is this kind of like melting pot of sorts. I mean, fucking A, man. If I was in Damon Albarn's shoes, like, just once again, like, how many fucking tracks can I put out, like, for just one album? Just like, how many people do I want to get involved with this? I mean, I want to get involved with as many people as possible. I want to make as much music as possible, and then, kind of put out the best of the best on this. I'm sure you're kind of also going for this concept album in mind. I'd definitely say for imagery, it's still kind of like this submarine still underwater. It's still kind of exploring underwater caves. I mean, it's still pretty fucking dark. You're seeing some of the fish you normally wouldn't see otherwise if you weren't this deep. There's almost like a delirious kind of state. Like, it's not too strong. I mean, it's kind of like in the background, that feeling, but it is there. And especially for super fast jellyfish, I mean, there's definitely, like something like is off. Compositionally wise, I mean, they're really portraying that feeling really well. They're doing a really good job of it. I mean, especially the introduction to super fast jellyfish is just like fucking, it's nuts, man. I'd definitely say it's almost a return back to like Demon Days kind of debut era style music. It's hip hop for the most part. Then it kind of transitions into this chorus that I would say once again is this like electronic indie rock kind of like almost poppy beat. There's definitely this oceanic or like cruise ship vibe, or so kind of continuing that like submarine effect. I mean, I'd say they're probably not as deep in the water or the ocean, excuse me. I mean, I guess either would be correct. Almost like a Super Mario Brothers at the beach kind of vibe. The music video is loopy and pretty minimal. So Empire Ants, which is one of my favorite tracks off this album, does feature Little Dragon. The second half of the song is kind of more electronically geared. I would say it's definitely more kind of in the Little Dragon world, whereas the first half is kind of like in the Gorillaz world. Like once again, kind of like that, like electronic kind of indie rock. I don't know, that it's definitely a little bit of a new style that the Gorillaz are going for. Specifically, Damon's going for off this album, using still once again like drum machines and whatnot. But once again, the transition is just fucking. It's a beautiful fucking track, and Yukimi fucking nails it, man, vocally. Like the first half of it's kind of like this like lounging at the beach. The song structure doesn't really change up. It's pretty straightforward until it does transition to the second half of the song that's more electronic. I'm hearing at first, like I said, drum machine, piano, synthesizer, guitar. That kind of like that guitar kind of really does apply that like lounging at the beach kind of feeling. There's also this like whole note synthesizer in the background. Probably chords and whatnot. The synthesizers really add that like twinkling sensation of like the sun kind of dancing off of, well, specifically the sunlight dancing off of the waters, or the water, or the ocean. So a couple of arpeggiated synthesizers come in, and as they come in, the beginning of the song, that structure starts to like almost dissolve into like thin air, or even like water vapor. And once again, it's kind of like really transitioning into like this, like, I would say like almost like, the hill of the roller coaster. You're just kind of ticking up slowly and you're about to fucking, go down. Gotta fucking wait for it. Just a moment. At about 2:23, 2:24 is when the carts are at their highest peak, or at least the first cart of the fucking that little roller coaster train, and they get to see the highest point, and it's just about to fucking kind of I guess even like tip over, and like all the momentum's going fucking downhill now. It's a very beautiful track, man. So I mean, I did look at the credits and everything, and I did not see Eric of Little Dragon, who is the drummer. I guess he does not feature on this track. I mean, it could sound like it definitely might, but I guess they didn't. I don't know. It just he is not mentioned. That's 3/4 of Little Dragon, man. It kind of sucks. However, the music is like fucking the track anyway is banging like a motherfucker. I mean, like there's like this kind of funky bass, but once again it's kind of really in that electronic realm, but Yukimi is kind of known for her like rhythm and blues kind of like style, almost soul, I'd say even kind of jazz. I never really thought about associating Little Dragon with jazz until now, but that kind of opened doors, kind of just like fucking clicks on a fucking light. Makes sense, man. One thing I forgot to mention is just I guess vocal styles, and I'd say for the most part, Damon Albarn, he's definitely singing more than he is doing spoken word, and just in terms of how he's singing, he's allowing each word to kind of extend for as naturally as long as possible. And Yukimi, she's kind of once again this natural liquid-like movement. Sometimes the first word of the line would be the longest note being held. I mean, she's kind of, really dancing with her words as she's singing. Instrumentally, I'd even categorize it as electro-funk. There are various synthesizers kind of coming and going, and at this moment about 3:27, there's like these little kind of instrumental bridges. I mean, it's pretty straightforward in terms of song structure, but there are some, like I said, moments of like an instrumental break or bridge before kind of returning to that. I don't know, it's almost like this carnival at night on this plastic beach. There's like this fucking Ferris wheel and whatnot. There's other rides going on. And it just almost reminds me of like Goonies at the fucking amusement park. For technical stuff, I mean, this is probably Captain Obvious stuff, but I mean, like I said, like it does, it's pretty straightforward for the most part, but I guess to kind of change it up, I mean, the fucking bass and the drums seem to stay the same for the most part. But like I said, there's the synthesizers kind of coming in and going, and that's really what's changing up the song, I guess. From not being, I guess, so straightforward. I mean, when I say something's like straightforward, I mean like the synthesizers, they might kind of come and go or something like that, or the lead, like it might be a guitar or whatever the lead instrument is, might come and go. But for the most part, the drums and the bass are the same. The singing, basically once the singing stops, the song stops. Like there really isn't kind of any bridges, any breakdowns, any fucking choruses. If it is a chorus, like it's all in the fucking vocals. But for the most part, I would say there definitely are some transitional periods, especially in terms of synthesizers for this track, especially the second half. And at the end of the song, there's like this little like synthesizer solo that kind of like closes out the song as it fades away. Glitter Freeze, I would say, is mostly electro-funk. There's this funky bass line. There's kind of like these like laser beam. Well, I don't know about laser beam, like kind of like light beam. Synthesizers that are kind of like shooting out. Once again, still got the drum machines. I'd say so far the album has been mostly electro-funk, a little bit that like kind of what Gorillaz is kind of going for now, which is kind of like this indie rock kind of approach. There's like moments of hip-hop and trip-hop. You got that like world orchestra kind of atmosphere that comes in from time to time. I mean, honestly, the band really has changed its sound from Demon Days to Plastic Beach. I mean, it still kind of is the same old Gorillaz, and they have kind of updated their sound and whatnot, but I don't know, there is definitely something about them that's different. And maybe it's blasphemous to say indie rock. Maybe it's just, you could just say it's rock and roll, but I really don't see rock and roll much anymore, especially, and especially for fucking like the fall, like that's kind of like 2D and like solo kind of lo-fi indie rock. Once again, it's like all in like garage band. Yeah, indie rock like a motherfucker. About a minute 30, kind of everything kind of stops before it kind of all starts up again. I'd definitely say it's a pretty straightforward song. Not too much changes up other than those like laser beam, light beam kind of synthesizers kind of like shooting and firing at moments, kind of coming in and out. Definitely electro-funk. Some Kind of Nature, which features Lou Reed. It reminds me of like a Matt and Kim indie rock. There's piano, there's drum machine, almost electro-funk, but it definitely reminds me of like indie rock for sure, but with Lou Reed on top of it. It's kind of like reminds me of that Lulu with Metallica, just like let's just make music and then have Lou Reed sing on top of it, or it was more specifically just, he kind of sings, but it's like that spoken word singing. Gotta have Lou on it. It's definitely pretty straightforward in terms of song structure so far. About, well, I'd say 40 seconds in at least, but definitely some incorporations of electro funk as the song progresses. And then Damon Albarn kind of comes in, kind of applying that once again, like that. I mean, I'd say indie rock feel. Before 120, there's like this like little bridge. It's like pretty minimal in terms of how bridges normally are. I mean, a lot of bridges typically have like a drum fill. But I'd say there was not much of a drum fill. It was kind of like I said, very minimal in that sense. Synthesizers are, like one thing I guess I'm noticing as I'm like really like pointing it out. I mean, for the most part, it's just like build a foundation, like, your bass and fucking drums, and then, you get to fucking paint on top of it with either like synthesizers or fucking guitar work. And often you're using not just one lead, but like, you got like the rhythm guitar or fucking, a second guitar or like, a second synthesizer or even a third synthesizer. There are fucking like 3 fucking arpeggiators in the background. Like then they just kind of come and go. One thing that I'm still fucking learning is like the whole bridge and transition and like kind of even like the switch up of like, fucking from one song structure to like then the other. How like Empire Ants kind of went, for example. I'd really like to work on my bridges and breakdowns and whatever the fuck the kind of the change ups, because once again a lot of the music that I make, like it kind of just like, I mean, I'm influenced by some, this is fucking off tangent, and it's all me, and I'm nowhere as good as fucking any of these motherfuckers on this fucking album. I mean, they're way fucking better than me for sure. On one hand, like it definitely makes me intrigued to want to figure out more about song structure, but on the other hand, it definitely kind of goes like, I'll never be as good as them, so it's like, why even fucking bother? I mean, I'm definitely more of an optimistic person, so I do gotta say though, like just like with Snoop Dogg, like Lou Reed, like it's not a terrible song by any means, but I just feel like it just, these are big names, and like you really wanted them to feature because you probably were pretty fucking inspired or influenced by them. But it's just kind of like, Snoop Dogg's, I mean, like, this is fucking hypothetical. Like if Snoop Dogg was a fucking quarterback, you're asking him to be the punter, or like, he's like, he's gonna do his fucking, the best that he can. It's fucking Snoop Dogg. Just like with Lou Reed, it just, it's asking like Lou Reed instead of being like the pitcher, go and be fucking shortstop. I mean, Lou Reed is, for the most part, pretty fucking experimental. I mean, if you listen to Metal Machine music, for example, I mean, like, that's definitely pretty fucking experimental, pretty avant-garde. Yeah, and I mean, I think for the most part, I think Some Kind of Nature was done a little better than like Lulu. But once again, Lulu I'd say is more of an experimental kind of concept. This is more of a pop effort, but I mean, Lou Reed is known for doing both. He like, he could really jump from one side to the other, like in the same fucking album. Velvet Underground is like fucking a prime example of that. And of course his solo work. On Melancholy Hill, it's pretty much indie rock for the most part. In the middle of the song, there's like, a moment of like kind of like just Damon's just singing, and there's like, just maybe a synthesizer or two playing. Everything else kind of stops before it all kind of starts up again. So the song structure is pretty simple. Some synthesizers kind of come and go, but for the most part, this definitely reminds me of like being underwater again, like submarine style. The music video definitely reminds me of like the Beatles, like Yellow Submarine era. Broken, I'd say, is like this like lethargic electro funk. Also kind of a blend of that indie rock kind of feel. So far for song structure, it's been, like I always say, straightforward. Everything's pretty much just like in a trained fashion, just like, nothing's really changing up. Some synthesizers are kind of coming and going. This is another track that reminds me very much of that, like, kind of lo-fi, kind of like at home. It's like, compared to, like, I'd say, fucking the first two albums, the debut and Demon Days, there seems to be like more of a studio quality, and there's definitely a studio quality to these tracks as well, but like some of these tracks definitely feel like it's like once again like was made at home. Definitely kind of shows like what comes up for the next album, like the fall, like just like this once again like one person, not that Damon Albarn was fucking always Gorillaz, but I mean like it just, I don't know, it's different, man. I think it's maybe because Damon just happens to, he just is doing more of it by himself. I mean, quite literally. I looked at the past credits on like Demon Days and the debut, but like those even had like people helping him make those tracks. More so than just a feature. Sweepstakes is kind of like this blend of electro funk and like hip hop, specifically like what was kind of going on in America. About 2 minutes and like 20 seconds in, there's like this definite Latin vibe. There's trumpets and whatnot. It's almost a very subtle change in the song structure. It's been mostly like drum machine and like arpeggiator for the most part, or seemingly arpeggiator. This track really reminds me of, it's more of an updated version of, like Demon Days or their debut. Like, once again, like that blending of like 3 or 4 genres in once. That was still happening on this album, but it just wasn't as much as the last couple of albums. It's been mostly like, okay, so this time we're going to be, this genre. We're going to be like electro funk this time, and then the next track's going to be that hip-hop, electronic hip hop, maybe trip hop even, and then like the next track's gonna be like fucking indie rock, and then kind of, throw some elements of electronic here, fucking hip hop there. Just not as much blending of genres in this album. I mean, it is in some ways. I mean, it's I guess it's different. You got that orchestra element, you got the indie rock element, you got the hip-hop, trip-hop element, and then you got that, like, electro-funk element. There are variations of, like, the original, I guess, like, 4 genres that they were messing around with the first 2 albums. Once again, being rock and roll, electronic, hip-hop, and, like, kind of that Latin vibe feeling. I was racking my brain because I just forgot about one thing I wanted to say, but for On Melancholy Hill, it definitely also reminded me of like Smashing Pumpkins, almost. So the title track, Plastic Beach, is starts off pretty electro-funk still. Even reminds me of Fat White Family. There's this like synthesizer arpeggiator that kind of like induces almost like, this once again like roller coaster, amusement park ride kind of feeling. There's even like a new wave vibe that kind of reminds me of like Gary Newman, David Bowie, or hell, even fucking Elton John. I guess Clash too. Song structure wise, it's a pretty straightforward track. Synthesizers come in and out just to change the pace. Mostly electro funk. To binge, kind of goes back to this like lounging on the beach again. The guitar work is doing that once again, like that similar lounge work kind of effort. The synthesizers are also kind of adding that like almost like reggae kind of vibe, or Caribbean even. Best to describe it as like lounge rock mixed with like electronic. There's a little like mini like synthesizer solo of sorts, or like an instrumental break or a bridge rather. I wouldn't exactly call it a solo. The song structure doesn't really change too much besides like, some synthesizers change up the variation. It's pretty much a duet between Damon Albarn and Yukimi Nagano. Cloud of Unknowing is like this kind of like abstract kind of jazz, but it's, I would say jazz, soul, but like, electronic atmosphere kind of going on. There's also strings involved. The orchestra in general is kind of involved. There's also like kind of percussion. Pirate Jet is probably like the only track I would like really describe as like electronic rock. I mean, I guess like, you know, like Empire Ants sort of, but like it transitions from like I said, like in that indie rock kind of feeling into like that electro funk. Whereas this is like I said, like it's electro funk sort of, but like it's more electronic rock in this case. The last track starts off with that like I don't know, almost pirate kind of like synthesizer, and then Damon Albarn is also saying through a vocoder Pirate Jet over and over again. Some synthesizers are also like kind of fading in. Once again, kind of giving off that electro funk kind of vibe. This is also one of my favorite tracks. Damon's also, I mean, could just be me, but kind of also singing how he used to sing, which is kind of more or less like a spoken word kind of singing vibe to it rather than actually singing. A keep singing vibe. The song structure does not really change at all. Some songs don't need to really change too much and be very fucking effective, man. Instrumentally speaking, though, like, I mean, this album really kind of, for me, just like pulls back the veil. In terms of like, you know, a lot of this music was really kind of going towards, I mean, it always kind of has been going towards, I mean, specifically I'm talking about Gorillaz, was always kind of going for that kind of pop feeling, like what was popular at the time, and, you know, just really incorporating those elements together all at once. And this album, like I said, is like mostly like electro funk, like hip hop, trip hop, indie rock, and I mean, I guess there's like some elements of like, you know, experimentation and, you know, some other things like you know, that orchestral atmosphere as well. I mean, it's a little more worldly in a sense. I mean, it's kind of also exploring different sectors of the music in general too. But it's almost like alternative Gorillaz in a sense. Like there's like, you know, there's like rock and roll and then there's alternative rock. So the first track that has lyrics is Welcome to the World of the Plastic Beach. And it's quite literally just a narration of kind of setting the tone and the setting. I think, you know, it's kind of also, you know, maybe social and, you know, probably social commentary on fucking climate change and whatnot, for sure. It's probably gonna be everyone's kind of like perspective on it. I mean, you got Damon's fucking "I Said" at the very beginning. I mean, to me personally, the lyrics kind of just go like, you know, this world's like, you know, really starting to get fucked up. I mean, by our own fucking actions, our consequence, you know, the consequence to our fucking actions, I guess. Just fucking of all this waste, you know, it's gonna build up and, you know, it's gonna fucking surmount somewhere. I mean, it almost kind of depicts this like apocalyptic or post-apocalyptic scenario, but set on this fucking beach. White Flag kind of like sets examples of like law, whether, I mean, it's almost like, you know, anarchy in a sense, but like peaceful anarchy. Almost like this, once again, this like beach or this like island of pleasure, or like fucking I mean, it's saying like, you know, just life, just love, no hype, just fun, no ties, just me and my mind, just me and my wife, but tell me if I'm dreaming. So just like almost like, once again, this like sort of utopia in a sense, but like once again, like almost like this post-apocalyptic kind of utopia. Like no one's asking you to, you know, asking you of anything or to, you know, take anything from you or anything like that. It's just kind of just by this point, just live life, you know, find some fucking food and like, you know, don't die, I guess. There are several things that I kind of listed off in this scenario once again. No feds, no stress, no rent, no superficial shit. The real flow. Rhinestone Eyes kind of talks about not only climate change, but also, once again, the accumulation of trash and where it kind of comes from, mostly from consumerism, which is a byproduct of capitalism. Drive on engines till they weep, and nobody knows what to do with the heat. Seasons see adjustment signs of change. Nature is corrupted in factories far away. Just some examples that's about environmental change and just climate change and whatnot, and also not only that, but also just dealing with waste and trash and whatnot. I mean, the album cover alone, which is dope looking, but just kind of, I mean, it is almost optimistic. I mean, it's kind of like tongue-in-cheek, kind of like we're fucked, but this is, some things that we could do. We could potentially use the trash and kind of repurpose it as something else. For Stylo, the message is kind of just, well, some of the lyrics I'll just pull out is like, sing yourself out of depression, rise above all recession. If I know your heart, electric is the love. If it's love, it's electric. It'll be flowing on the streets night after night just to get through the week. Sometimes it's hard. I think there's kind of like two messages. In general, it's just like about life. Just like life is going to be hard. You just kind of got to be like patient and persevere through it. But also, same thing with like love. Kind of go with that. You got to go with the flow kind of situation. If only life always did like hand you a fucking reward every fucking 5 seconds, you know what I mean? Like, I guess some people have that fucking lifestyle, but I don't know, would you even want that kind of lifestyle? Probably, but I don't know. Just life isn't like that typically. I mean, for the most part. A lot of times it takes away. Sometimes it gives a lot. A lot of times it takes a lot. Way more than it gives. At the beginning of the song, one of the words that's said repeatedly is overload. So it's just, once again, like sometimes there's times where you're fucking just feeling over fucking loaded, like almost like a machine. Like if there's too much electricity to it, it's gonna fucking it's gonna overload, or fucking catch on fire, or explode. Super Fast Jellyfish is kind of just mostly in the themes of I guess the storyline in general. I guess the theme for this track in particular is just I guess some of the food that might be served during this like post-apocalyptic scenario. So for Empire Ants, it seems to be kind of like a part 2 message to Stylo of kind of just like you gotta be patient and just sometimes you gotta step out of the place that you're in, because you're just like, you might be fucking overloading once again, just way too stressed out, just almost having a nervous breakdown or a mental breakdown or just breaking down in general. So it's just kind of like, once again, like step back and meditate kind of on the thing, just like kind of think about the situation that's at hand rather than like kind of just constantly just worrying about the end results without kind of thinking about the actual reality of the situation. That it's nice, it's not a bad idea to think about the worst scenario, but it's you gotta be a little optimistic sometimes, otherwise like you're kind of always gonna be living in fear. You're just always gonna just fucking overload. You're just always gonna, I just keep fucking saying overload, but like that's it, man. And like once again, like even this post-apocalyptic scenario, like a lot of these ideas and messages for like, once again, it's tongue-in-cheek kind of, but like just like what would happen after, if something like this were to happen, like, if there wasn't any kind of law or order, people would just probably continue to live, most likely as they do now. I'm sure there would probably be like, a fallout and people attacking each other every now and again. Well, there'd be a giant, probably, once again, like foraging fucking for items and whatnot, but after a while, like people would just probably, it kind of people would probably get out of their fucking their caves or under their rocks and whatnot. I mean, metaphorically or maybe even literally, because people are social, and by the end of the day, I mean, we all just kind of don't we all just want to fucking lounge around? Don't we all just want to like relax and whatnot? But like, because of us relaxing so much and just taking it so easy and just thinking that something else gonna deal with our problems or situations later on in life or whatever, that's what got us here in the first place. That's why we have so much trash in the first place, so much buildup. I mean, that's why our environment's also kind of fucked up as well. When Yukimi comes in, I really feel like it's kind of like saying, like, know your place, remember what you've done. I mean, remember what you've achieved. I mean, like a lot of times, like for me personally, like for all the things that I've done, I don't even I don't even process that it's even fucking something that I've done. Like I just keep running. But even when I do all this stuff, I sometimes have like that doubt. Like, I mean, is this all fucking worth something, or is it just gonna be a waste of time? Am I really just fucking am I just being a dumbass about this? I mean, am I even like worth anything? And I really think that Empire Ants is kind of like a pretty good message for how citizens are kind of viewed as. Yukimi's words are very uplifting, especially towards the working class. Because, I mean, it's the working class that keeps this fucking world running, man. Yeah, of course, there's, like, people on the top telling some people what to do, but, they need fucking these people. I mean, going back to the whole Parasite movie, you know what I mean? Like, rich people need middle-class people, we all need we need all of these fucking people, and we need fucking poor people. I mean, like, theoretically, through, like, this fucking system to, I don't know, it's kind of backward ass, because often people are very apathetic, very little people are sympathetic, but I mean, it's so weird because a lot of people like kind of go through the same shit, but they just don't even realize it. We all should be a lot more fucking empathetic, but I mean, at the very least sympathetic, but I mean, a lot of times it's fucking, some people have bad days, but then there's also some people who just fucking are just pieces of shit. You deal with enough assholes or pieces of shit, and then, like, like, that can totally turn someone's attitude from wanting to be totally optimistic or, totally wanting to be open or, nice, would end up turning closed off. And because something's closed off, whether a little or a lot, I mean, that's not as much perspective or, even opinion or, I mean, just, I don't know, thought or idea. I mean, once again, when you go into meditation, you really are kind of taking yourself out of your own picture frame. You're looking at the bigger picture. A lot of times you're kind of forcing yourself to through meditation. And, I mean, I think it's kind of like, I think if you do it properly, it's kind of indirectly going to do that. I mean, it will, I guess, like, in turn will then directly kind of affect it, or it can. But, if you do it correctly, I mean, I'm not saying, like, when you get into fucking, whatever pose, like lotus flower pose or whatever the fucking poses are called, and you're just not trying to think about anything, and then thoughts come and whatnot, and you know what I mean, it's your decision whether you decide to allow those thoughts to continue on. I mean, whether you decide to go down that path and find out whether it's going to lead to a fork in the road or a fucking dead end or, whatever. Or, I mean, it could be multiple fucking forks. I mean, just like, damn, son. But overall, I think it's just kind of like meditate on, your scenario. Not just even your scenario, but like, the world's scenario. And also kind of like remember your worth, know your worth, know what you've done, and know what you will do. I mean, we like all have fears of the future, of the unknown, but if you generally know who you are and what you're gonna do, you know what I mean? Like if you know that, I mean, I know I'm gonna just keep doing these things because I know it's helping me. What's gonna, come a result of that? I mean, yes, I guess I can like fear the worst, that like, it's gonna be nothing. It's gonna amount to nothing. It's gonna be a waste of time. Or you know what I mean, like apply this with actual practice. You know what I mean, like this is just knowledge of sorts. And you gotta like, it's one thing to teach, it's another thing to fucking learn. So like I'm only teaching myself, I guess, like just what they had done. But I also have to fucking learn it myself. I have to learn the lesson that I'm like kind of teaching myself. Like this is, I mean, like, yes, in a sense, yes, I'm just fucking listening to an album, but like I'd like to think that I'm doing so much more than just that. I'd also like to think that it's me not fucking just talking shit about a fucking album. Like I'm this is critiquing it, and I think that like when you critique an art piece, like yes, you might be pointing out some flaws and whatnot, but I think overall, I mean, just in the long run, it just kind of can be very helpful to like anybody. Not just between the person expressing their opinion and the person, the artist. Glitter Freeze is pretty open-ended, or ambiguous, to say the least. I mean, I had to cheat a little bit to see maybe what it could fucking mean. I mean, there's only so many words. But I guess they were suggesting that, they said like futuristic lines, that it could be potentially what, just why Plastic Beach got, how it got to this scenario in the first place. I just think they kind of just used some words to fill for this song. And I guess the last line, "Ship him far," could refer to Murdoch sending 2D to go have to make music, I guess. So for some kind of nature, it really kind of seems like it's just depicting a scenario within a scenario. I mean, I guess the consequence of the consequence of the actions of humanity or society in general. Well, I could be stretching here, but it's like, we've created plastic, and so in a sense, as I mentioned kind of beforehand, because plastic came out of nature, it is nature, and especially now, we gotta like now, it's, it's almost, I don't know, man, it's fucking a little deeper. Not only are we creating something new from our environment, we have to now integrate it, or inevitably be forced to do so. And this one, once again, I kind of cheated, and I saw that some people were saying that it's kind of like it's Lou Reed kind of like slighting fans that kind of like really idolize, I guess celebrities in general. I guess you can call them stars. For On Melancholy Hill, the phrase "up on Melancholy Hill, there's a plastic tree," which might even be kind of like a reference to Radiohead, but I really think it's just kind of more or less just talking about inevitably we won't even have like nature anymore. We'll have a replica of it based on the consequences of our actions. Where you can't get what you want, but you can get me. I mean, I could be stretching here, but I think it's like we'll get to this point where we won't be able to even have everything that we want. That will, like, these luxuries might even just go away, and that, like, that fucking kind of fantasy lifestyle, once again, like, where we just can throw away trash anywhere on the ground or fucking, and it's just gonna eventually, inevitably, somehow fucking clean itself up, which is, not fucking possible. We're fucking ourselves. And some people are really fucking apathetic about it. And I mean, for the most part, I mean, like, I guess you can ignore all of the shit that's going on. I mean, in this, I guess, especially for this post-apocalyptic scenario. But I mean, like, once again, like, a lot of these luxuries would be, taken away, stripped from us, and lethargic would probably be like the best feeling that we'll have for the most part. The world around us might be fucking killing us. I mean, especially I'm talking about in this like post-apocalyptic scenario where probably even the water might be fucking like nuclear or radioactive or something like that. And it's also not in just one section of the world. It's going to be all around the fucking, it's going to engulf the entire world. The entire world will have to fucking deal with it. We all have to deal with it. I had to cheat a little bit for Broken. I knew it had to do probably with a relationship, and probably a relationship that's not functioning. But one of the things I probably wouldn't have gotten is like someone was saying how for every time they meet, it's by the light of the is it far away in the glitter freeze or in our eyes? Every time they meet, it's by the light of the plasma screens we keep switched on all through the night while we sleep. Which I guess were two kind of things. One, like how we just waste a lot of energy leaving things plugged in and turned on or whatever. But also how I guess we use our mediums like fucking television or movies or books or whatever, and I guess we center it around that kind of stuff rather than center it around our own lives, I guess. Which I guess I could see something to that. I guess, for example, whenever someone's like, do you want to do Netflix or chill or whatever, it's a lot easier, I guess, to focus the attention off of the elephant in the room, aka the relationship. Or if, say, you get involved with someone who's also plays video games or something like that, or also reads books, comics, television, movies, whatever, flinging rubber bands. The attention is not on the individual or the individuals. So sweepstakes is kind of like, and I didn't cheat or anything here. This is just kind of just reading it. I didn't know at first, but as sometimes just you get your answer when you read the entire thing, or at least like the last line. But specifically when you read the entire fucking thing. But to me, it seems like kind of like a message about how society is kind of gambling. I mean, it's kind of just about gambling in general, but I mean also how we're gambling away our chances of. Like I said, we might lose these luxuries and whatnot. We might end up being fucking really screwing ourselves, or really screwing our children or our children's children, whatever, making it harder for them to exist. Some of the key phrasing is like, hold on. Who's the winner, said the dealer. Every player, yeah, me. So you say, we will see. Pay or play, A-okay. What's it roll, how you like. Aim high, why not? Which, in a sense, I mean, that's typically how people will play when they gamble. I mean, not always, but I mean, just once again, it's metaphorically about gambling, but I think it's just even more on just like everyone thinks that they're going to be a winner, that like no one's going to have to suffer from this, no one's going to be a loser in this situation. Like, once again, like, if we don't deal with it now, our children will have to deal with it, or we have to. Like right now, we're dealing with some of the shit that that our previous generations have. I guess once again, their actions and whatnot, the consequences of that, good and bad. But I mean, there's also this like naive idea that everyone's gonna win, but like in reality, like say in a race, there's only one winner. One. Before I cheated a little bit and saw what some other people had suggested it could be about, what I thought I was just kind of, once again, referring to everything that had already been basically said. Just, once again, there's going to be a buildup of trash, the consequence to our actions. And then, like, just kind of, like, throwing out some computer fucking electronic kind of talk or whatever, but someone had suggested that it was not only about the whole consequence to our actions, but also how we're also progressing in other ways, technology wise. So like in a sense we could be like literally playing this, like, once again, this naive notion that, you know, we're really that we're really advancing as society, when in reality, like, you know, our surroundings kind of tell us otherwise. Forward to Binge, it kind of portrays this relationship that's kind of maybe even in reference to that the song Broken, but it's just like a relationship that's kind of, they definitely love each other, but they're also going through some issues, and it kind of almost seems like mood swingy or so. You know, some days you feel like you want to extra love somebody, and some days you just want to love somebody, and some days you really just don't want to love. You want to be loved. Some days you need to be loved, and you know, so, you know, all that. Once again, it's like stuff isn't black and white. A lot of it is in the gray, and once again, and it's just, especially for like relationships, like they can be very topsy-turvy. The fucking boat can totally just fucking flip upside down, could totally sink at any moment. Because, like, once again, feelings a lot of times, because, I mean, it's like a formula in a sense. Like, you're not just applying just feelings, you're also applying thoughts and, you know, ideas and, you know, memories, and then there's also memories that you fucking forgot about, and then there might be some other things that kind of just, like, put two and two together, and like, just, and then once again, there's also, like, outside fucking feelings and outside fucking issues and problems kind of going on, and, just, it's a fucking mess, man. My heart is in economy due to this autonomy. I mean, economies go up and down in value, especially. I mean, like, you know, and sometimes, like, it doesn't even make sense as to why it goes up and down. And I was saying, due to this autonomy, that, you know, just kind of saying, like, you know, this is something that's just almost wired in our brains, like almost like robotic in a sense, like habitual, a daily occurrence, non-stop, a factory line. So it's always just best to sometimes take a step back, look at the bigger picture, remember as much as you can, and move forward from there, and be as optimistic as possible. Because if you're nihilistic, if you're negative, you're only hurting yourself, and you're only hurting those around you. I mean, sometimes being real, or, you know, being honest or truthful can come off as negative, or it is very negative, but there could be a seed of positivity in there. Cloud of Unknowing seems to kind of be what I was getting at just moments ago, but it's just like, you know, about uncertainty, and, you know, sometimes you just got to be optimistic, simply put. On the cloud of unknowing, my world seems open. All the days of forgetting, they've gone out with the tide, lost at sea somewhere waiting, like setting suns at the rodeo, trying to find someone you'll never know. And I really think that message, that stanza, is just kind of like, you know, there's a lot of things that, like, you're going to be longing for, that at some point you're just going to eventually just fucking forget about, or just even kind of just go, why the fuck did I even want that in the first place? Or why did I even think about that? Why was that such a strain on my life in the first place? Why did I let that be? Waiting to see what the morning brings, may bring sunshine on its wings. So for the last track, Pirate Jet, which once again, one of my favorite tracks off this album. It's really fucking good. Let me just say, it's all good news now, because we left the taps running for 100 years. So just in that scenario itself, like, if we were to just let, you know, water run, you know, would it literally flood the land? But I mean, that's a hypothetical scenario. It's just like, you know, we wouldn't. I mean, why would we? I mean, nobody does that. Nobody fucking, you know, there isn't a bunch of fucking people just doing that, because it's just such a stupid ass idea to do. So with that being said, if we wouldn't do something like that, why the fuck would we do something like allow waste to just build up and just fucking collect just all over the place and just I mean, once again, another thing is, as I said beforehand, it's still connected to the moment it began. So, I mean, once again, like, even though we progress, like, technology-wise, like, there's still, our surroundings, our environment, our setting that's being affected by our actions. And we have to really fucking not only acknowledge it, but really change our way of life and living, and it's really not that difficult to do so. Sometimes all you have to do is just turn off the fucking tap.